Oh, I am short today. What is going on with this chair? Let's try that again. All right, and we're here. Thank you all so much for joining us here on the Junk Shop Library channel on this particularly late edition of Improv Bible Study, the Atheist Bible Study, where we read, yes, every word, every single solitary word of the King James Bible, and then promptly proceeded to rip at the new asshole it so deserves, because it's a Bronze Age piece of misogynistic, useless crap, notable only for some interesting poetic turns of phrase and a couple of weird, gruesome short stories stuffed in. Sound appealing to you? Stick around. Hit that thumbs up while we run through the announcements. Aha, wasn't that smooth? Or maybe you're just here to hate watch and stir up trouble because I pissed you off talking about Ephesians earlier today. In which case, you also are welcome. All righty. Well, let's see if we have announcements. I don't think we do. Today's Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, y'all. Happy whatever day it is if you're watching this in the future. I see we've got a lot of folks here in the chat. Fantastic and lovely to see you as ever. I'm not shrinking, I promise. Before we launch into the word of the Lord, I got to acknowledge the fantastic folks who keep this channel afloat. These are the folks who have bopped over to the address you now see scrolling at the bottom of your screen and linked in the description below, and pledged monetary support to the channel. They're the reason we're able to do what we do at the quality you have come to expect, and certainly in the quantity you have become accustomed to. I couldn't begin to thank them all enough, but I can thank them all in alphabetical order. The Atheist Pastor, Aunt Jer, B, Bill, Brainbug, Espresso, Gary, Ilya Moon, Kim, Lavender Lady, Linda, The Lone Wanderer, M, Microraptor, Mama Atheist, Nikki, Ox, Paul, Rain, Robert X, and Santi. Thank you all, most sincerely. Couldn't do it without you. Hope you like what you got. And remember, if you got suggestions, you know how to find me, because I'm always here. My goodness, that comments counter keeps ticking up. I see so many people here. All righty. Let me check in with chat real quick. See who we got. We got a bit of tea and Danish. It is late for you, I know. Sorry, there were some circumstances beyond my control. Had to bump it back by an hour, but I'm glad y'all hung around regardless. Paul Kamish, my first patron, infamous atheist activist, Paul Kamish. Mark Caesar, good to see you as ever. Never again, hello. Amiga Nuts, the man with all the links. Lovely to see you. Microraptor, hey, how are you doing today? What's going on with my wristwatch, asks Paul. I'm not wearing a watch. Or are you just making fun of how late we're starting? I don't know. Yes, Elliot Page. Always been a big fan of Mr. Page. Little Wolf, good to see you. Mark says, I'm not shrinking, I'm just getting down. Yes, that's exactly what it is. Yes, indeed. Geo-Sam, good to see you, my friend. How are you doing today? There's apparently a running joke somewhere else talking about armrests, and I don't have any idea what's going on. You know what? If I'm just going to keep sliding down at this rate, I may just have to adjust the fucking camera. There, that's a little bit better. All right. Well, some of y'all were with me earlier today when I had a little fun in the Christian Twitter community. For no readily apparent reason, the book of Ephesians was trending for about that long. And I took that opportunity to spread the word about the big book of war crimes and outdated regulations. It went over about as well as I thought it would, and that was terrific fun. Apparently, I'm a Satanist. I'm told so by a good Christian woman, so it must be true. It's just tea. Hey, Ox, how's it going? All right. Well, we are in the book of the prophet Isaiah right now, as we're likely to be for some considerable time, because Isaiah is most notoriously the longest book of the Bible, no matter which version you tune into. Tune into, read. And we're just getting started. So we turn today to the 9th chapter of the book of Isaiah. Oh, it's Linda's fault. Okay, blame Linda. Let's see what Mr. Isaiah's got in store for us today. Nevertheless, the dimness shall not be such as was in her vexation, when at the first he lightly afflicted the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, and afterward did more grievously afflict her by way of the sea beyond Jordan in Galilee of the nations. The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them hath the light shined. Thou hast multiplied the nation and increased the joy. They joy before thee according to the joy in harvest, and as men rejoice when they divide the spoil. For thou hast broken the yoke of his burden, and the staff of his shoulder, the rod of his oppressor, as in the day of Midian. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise, and garments rolled in blood. But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end upon the throne of David, and upon his kingdom, to order it, and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth even forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. The Lord sent a word into Jacob, and it hath alighted upon Israel. And all the people shall know, even Ephraim and the inhabitant of Samaria, that say in the pride and stoutness of heart, the bricks are fallen down, but we will build with hewn stones. The sycamores are cut down, but we will change them into cedars. Therefore the Lord shall set up the adversaries of Rezin against him, and join his enemies together, the Syrians before and the Philistines behind, and they shall devour Israel with open mouth. For all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. For the people turneth not unto him that smiteth them, neither do they seek the Lord of hosts. Therefore the Lord will cut off from Israel head and tail, branch and rush in one day. The ancient and honorable, he is the head, and the prophet that teacheth lies, he is the tail. For the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed. And therefore the Lord shall have no joy in their young men, neither shall have mercy on their fatherless and widows. For every one is an hypocrite and an evildoer, and every mouth speaketh folly. For all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. For wickedness burneth as the fire. It shall devour the briars and thorns, and shall kindle in the thickets of the forest, and they shall mount up like the lifting up of smoke. Through the wrath of the Lord of hosts is the land darkened, and the people shall be as the fuel of the fire. No man shall spare his brother. And he shall snatch on the right hand and be hungry, and he shall eat on the left hand, and they shall not be satisfied. They shall eat every man the flesh of his own arm. Manasseh, Ephraim, and Ephraim, Manasseh, and they together shall be against Judah. For all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. And there we have the very Old Testament-y 9th chapter of the book of Isaiah the prophet. Okay. Hey, Purple. Hi, Brainbug. How are y'all doing? Robert X, hello. Okay. If y'all were raised in, around, or even sort of vaguely tangential to the church, any church, really, of any Christian or Christian-adjacent denomination, you likely heard some words that were familiar. For unto us a son is born, unto us a son is given. The government shall be upon his shoulders, and his name shall be called Tom, Dick, Harry, Bob, Larry, Zach, and Charles. Very popular around Christmas time is that particular couple of verses, though they left out everything around them. I don't know about you, but I don't remember a lot of smiting and eating of own arms and devouring of the nations as the fuel in the fire from my my childhood nativity pageants. Yeah, Purple's got it. Telephone book doesn't have much of a plot, but what a huge casting. Sorry, it took me a minute, but that was funny. Yeah, because Robert said he would listen if I read the phone book. Very flattering. Thank you, my friend. Okay. TMI show starts 30 minutes later tomorrow. Linda, good to know. Thank you. Okay. Well, I'm certainly never going to read the nativity narrative with the same way again. This has very pugilistic bracketing to this unto us a child is born business, and it doesn't make the child sound very babe in the mangery. It makes him sound very warlordy and murdery. Much more Old Testament. Much more Old Testament. Microraptor says, every time I read the Lord of Hosts, she thinks of Zeus, because in ancient Greece they believed Zeus found it very important that you be a good host. Also true of the Old Testament, Yahweh. For some have entertained angels unaware. Titan Uranus, an old friend of the channel. Welcome, my friend. Yeah, well, my genetics finally caught up with me back here to an extent that even I couldn't fool myself it wasn't anymore, so the time had come. The Gospel of Chucky. Okie dokie. Doorknob Head hopes this is good for the digestion. Well, you just missed the cannibalism, so hopefully you'll still have a bit of an appetite. Or auto-cannibalism, I should specify. Every man shall eat the flesh of his own arm under the reign of the wonderful Counselor, the everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Spare me from such peace. Harmonica Man, hey, how's it going? Okay. Oh, the murdering baby. Okay. Sorry, I'm not catching any of the jokes today, y'all. I don't know what's wrong with me. Okay, so yeah, because I mean that was a pretty jarring transition for me at least. From verse 5 to verse 6, for every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given. You know, I'm so used to hearing that latter part in la-di-da-di-da-di-da around Christmas. I'm not accustomed to it being bracketed with smiting and fire and craziness. It's the shortness. Yes, it is my shortness. They're now going straight over my head. Hey, I wonder if I can make them go by any faster. Oh, that would have been funny if I slid down. But no, this thing has apparently slid down as low as it's going to go. Maybe the next investment here in the library is a better fucking chair that doesn't have all the springs shot out of it through many years of long and faithful service. Okay, so well, I mean, so much for the loving God of the New Testament, right? If the child born unto us is Jesus, and he's going to come and bring such wrathful smiting and fire that all the nations are consumed and everybody's going to have to resort to eating themselves. The problem is, though, that then later, just a couple of verses later, it makes it clear that that was a poetic device and not an actual statement about a shortage of foodstuffs in the nation. And that it's going to be the case that these two tribes, Ephraim and Manasseh, that have risen up against the righteous ruler of Jerusalem, are going to fall upon each other. And that's going to be, you know, the left hand smiting the right and the right hand smiting the left. So, not as much fun. Not as much fun. Okay, well, is there anything else to drag out of chapter 9? I mean, not real. I mean, it's just a prophecy of the Lord's vengeance, great vengeance and furious anger, if you will. Just kind of going on and not doing much as it goes. So, chapter 10. Woe unto them. Okay, this is off to a promising start. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed, to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. And what will ye do in the day of visitation, and in the desolation which shall come from far? To whom will ye flee for help? And where will ye leave your glory? Without me they shall bow down under the prisoners, and they shall fall under the slain. For all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. O Assyrian, the rod of mine anger, and the staff in their hand is mine indignation. I will send him against an hypocritical nation, and against the people of my wrath will I give him a charge, to take the spoil, and to take the prey, and to tread them down like the mire of the streets. Howbeit he meaneth not so, nor doth his heart think so, but it is in his heart to destroy and cut off nations not a few. For he saith, Are not my princes altogether kings? Is not Calno as Carchemish? Is not Hamath as Arpad? Is not Samaria as Damascus? As my hand hath found the kingdoms of the idols, and whose graven images did excel them of Jerusalem and of Samaria, shall I not, as I have done unto Samaria and her idols, so do to Jerusalem and her idols? Wherefore it shall come to pass that when the Lord hath performed his whole work upon Mount Zion and on Jerusalem, I will punish the fruit of the stout heart of the king of Assyria, and the glory of his high looks. For he saith, By the strength of my hand I have done it, and by my wisdom, for I am prudent. And I have removed the bounds of the people, and have robbed their treasures, and I have put down the inhabitants like a valiant man. And my hand hath found as a nest the riches of the people, and as one gathereth eggs that are left, have I gathered all the earth, and there was none that moved the wing, or opened the mouth, or peeped. Shall the axe boast itself against him that heweth therewith? Or shall the saw magnify itself against him that shaketh it? As if the rod should shake itself against them that lift it up, or as if the staff should lift up itself, as if it were no wood. Therefore shall the Lord of hosts, send among his fat ones leanness, and under his glory he shall kindle a burning like the burning of a fire. And the light of Israel shall be for a fire, and his Holy One for a flame, and it shall burn and devour his thorns and his briars in one day, and shall consume the glory of his forest, and of his fruitful field, both soul and body, and they shall be as when a standard-bearer fainteth. And the rest of the trees of his forest shall be few, that a child may write them. And it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel, and such as are escaped of the house of Jacob, shall no more again stay upon him that smote them, but shall stay upon the Lord, the Holy One of Israel, in truth. The remnant shall return, even the remnant of Jacob, unto the mighty God. For though thy people Israel be as the sand of the sea, yet a remnant of them shall return. The consumption decreed shall overflow with righteousness. For the Lord God of hosts shall make a consumption, even determined, in the midst of all the land. Therefore thus saith the Lord God of hosts, O my people that dwellest in Zion, be not afraid of the Assyrian. He shall smite thee with a rod, and shall lift up his staff against thee after the manner of Egypt. For yet a very little while, and the indignation shall cease, and mine anger in their destruction. And the Lord of hosts shall stir up a scourge for him, according to the slaughter of Midian at the rock of Oreb, and as his rod was upon the sea, so he shall lift it up after the manner of Egypt. And it shall come to pass in that day, that his burden shall be taken away from off thy shoulder, and his yoke from off thy neck, and the yoke shall be destroyed because of the anointing. He is come to Ayath, he is passed to Migron, at Michmash he hath laid up his carriages. They are gone over the passage, they have taken up their lodging at Geba. Ramah is afraid, Gibeah of Saul is fled. Lift up thy voice, O daughter of Galim, cause it to be heard unto Laish, O poor Anathoth. Madmenah is removed, the inhabitants of Gebim gather themselves to flee. As yet shall he remain at Nob that day. He shall shake his hand against the mount of the daughter of Zion, the hill of Jerusalem. Behold, the Lord of hosts, shall lop the bough with terror, and the high ones of stature shall be hewn down, and the haughty shall be humbled. And he shall cut down the thickets of the forest with iron, and Lebanon shall fall by a mighty one. chapter 10. Yeah, finally got some smiting. One smite, two smite, one smote, one smite. Okay. So I don't know if you've heard, but this Assyrian guy is going to come and badass all over the place and kill a whole bunch of motherfuckers. 9/10, if you'll recall from last time. But the remnant will remain, as remnants are wont to do. And someday, far off and down the line, the people of Israel will once again return to the Lord. And when they do that, the Lord will give them the authority and the power to smite their oppressors, and they shall return from the Assyrian captivity, as they did from the Babylonian captivity, once again to Jerusalem, where doubtless they'll fuck up again and put up Asherah poles again and start worshiping Baal again and start sacrificing their children to Moloch again. And we'll start the whole fucking cycle all over again, because we're only halfway through the New Testament, y'all. Oh, thank you, Titan. Yeah, this was not intentional, but we've come out looking very blue today, have we not? It's pulling out every little bit of blue in the background as well. Hey, Jasper, how's it going? Good to see you. So yeah, more. I don't know if y'all have heard the rumor, but there's word going around that God's not too much of a fan when you turn away after other gods. He has a tendency to send in invading barbarian hordes. The only problem is the Assyrian, and here's some of this dumb God logic that only appears in the Old Testament, at least to my knowledge. This is a sort of a weird callback, sort of in reverse, if that makes any sense, to the perpetual hardening of Pharaoh's heart during the plague cycle way back in Exodus days. Those of you who've been with me that long, because that was a hot minute ago, was Exodus. The Assyrian, having smitten Jerusalem, is going to think that he did it all of his own volition because he's a conquering, warlording type of empire. And God already knows he's going to take umbrage at that. Umbrage, I say. And as a result, is going to turn them over to the might of the remnant of the people of Jerusalem. Randolph Richardson, good to see you, sir. So if ever it were painfully obvious that a book was written after the fact, because we know this is exactly how this shakes out. The Assyrian Empire rises and spreads westward, sweeps the Mount of Jerusalem under its whelming tide, and drags away the handful of Israelites that remain into captivity in a distant land. At which point the scribes of Jerusalem have got to be sitting there just banging their heads against the table going, again, like, really? We're just going to have to copy down this same story again, almost verbatim, and just change the place names and the titles of the kings? God damn it. Paul is dropping all the terrible, terrible New Testament jokes into chat. Well, I mean, that's my guess. Is that just on paper, this makes it shriekingly, wailing obvious that this was written after the fact. Unless you happen to believe in prophecy, which most modern peoples do not, because it's a stupid concept and has never, ever, ever once happened, ever, ever. Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome, Randolph. Certainly. DM me on Twitter. That sounds like fun. Have we seen any of this come to pass? Says Never Again. Not so far, though we will. Or we have. I honestly don't remember if the Assyrian exile has already happened. We've had 2 distinct exiles to Babylon, or under the auspices, I beg your pardon, under the auspices of the Babylonian rulers, but I don't remember if we've done the Assyrian exile or not. It would have been before the wisdom literature if we did, which means it's been since about fucking March, I think. It feels like we've spent the entire damn pandemic buried up to our eyeballs in couplets. Yeah. So just another prophecy that everything's going to keep going the same way it did. Except this is prophecy and not recounting, so it's not going to go as quickly and smoothly as it did back in the books of the Kings, when it would just be a couple of verses and, you know, and after the death of Tom, Dick arose to the kingship of Israel and did evil in the sight of the Lord, and he lived 305 years and had many sons and daughters, and then he died. And after the death of Dick, Harry arose to the kingship of Israel, and he returned Israel unto the Lord God of hosts, whom his father Dick had strayed from. And he lived to be 302 years of age and had many sons and daughters, and then he died and was buried with his fathers. And after him came Johnny, you know, and it would just go on and on and on. But no, we're in the prophetic literature now, which means we got to go on and on and on at length about how exactly it's going to go down. I miss anything? Seems to be a lot of, and here's what's going to happen, and then just repeating over and over. I know, y'all are getting real fucking tired of hearing me talk about how repetitive this is over and over and over. Chapter 11. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, and the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Lord. And shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of the Lord. And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, nor reprove after the hearing of his ears, but with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. And the cow and the bear shall feed, their young ones shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox. And the sucking child shall play on the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice den. And they shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left, from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. The envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. But they shall fly upon the shoulders of the Philistines toward the west. They shall spoil them of the east together. They shall lay their hand upon Edom and Moab, and the children of Ammon shall obey them. And the Lord shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea, and with his mighty wind shall he shake his hand over the river, and shall smite it in the seven streams, and make men go over dry shod. And there shall be an highway for the remnant of his people, which shall be left, from Assyria, like as it was to Israel in the day that he came up out of the land of Egypt. Dr. Osiris, hey, how you doing? Okay. More messianic crap. I had forgotten just how absolutely shot full of messianic prophecy crap the book of Isaiah was. It was one of those books that was taught to us sort of scattershot and piecemeal back in my Sunday school and churching days. Like most of the rest of the Bible, we didn't exactly go through end to end, cover to cover. I think the only ones we really did that with were Job in summary, Esther, Ruth, Genesis with some stuff left out, Exodus with some stuff left out. That was pretty much it. More smiting. Yes. Yeah. So eventually there's going to be a king over Israel who will gather the diaspora back together and cement them as a mighty ruler once more in Jerusalem. Supposedly. We're not holding our breath. But that's what the good book says. So, supposedly, it's going to happen. Doesn't say when. Doesn't say how we're going to know it when it does happen. It doesn't say what kind of signs or no signs, no seasons, no days, no years. No way to know when this is going to happen, just that someday it's gonna. So in the meantime, put your hope in the Lord and your income in the pocket of the priestly class, who will intercede for you upon the day. That I just sort of read into it because that's how the whole thing has played out so far, and I see no indications that it's immediately or soon going to stop. Mike Raptor says, surely there's better ways than a 2,000 years old book for God to show he exists. Well, you'd think so. But, nope. He wrote us a little letter, left it on the pillow, went out for smokes 2 turns of the millennium ago and ain't never come back. Here we are, just drumming our fingers, just waiting, sitting around with our proverbial thumb up our proverbial butt, waiting for the miracle, as Mr. Cohen once said. Yeah, Randolph, I think it's a different kind of lie that we're talking about in those 2 verses. Dr. Osiris says, I want to know what God wants all this money for. Yeah, that's a good question. Same with the with all those chopped up animals, you know. But God's been asking for people to chop up animals since back in his floating lamp days in Ur of the Chaldees. So, yeah. Why designated as the Holy Bible? I don't know. Maybe there's an unholy Bible. Maybe it's to differentiate it from, what did they call it in the Constantine movie? The Bible in hell. Genesis only has 31 chapters. Or 50 or whatever the hell it was. I don't even remember. Genesis has been so fucking long ago, I don't even care anymore. Yeah. So the smiting is going to be bad, but it ain't going to last forever. And eventually, God will raise up a king over Israel who will save you all from the clutches of, let's see, the Assyrians, the Egyptians, the Pathrotians, the Cushites, the Elamites, the Shinarians, the Hamathians, and the islands of the sea, who were either so minor or so many that they don't even get listed off by name. And then the various tribes are not going to be at war with each other anymore, which, if you recall from last time, is why we're in this hot mess to begin with. Because 2 of the tribes rose up against the other 10 who had remained faithful to the God-appointed king in Jerusalem. But someday everybody's going to learn their lesson and they won't get their ass smoked no more. Let's see, 43 minutes just clicked over. I know it's getting late for some of y'all, but we don't want to end on an odd numbered one, do we? So we've got time for chapter 12. The smiting won't last forever. Finally, some good news. God really wants you to love your king. Yes, yes he does. Especially in the kingly authorized translation of 1611. Funny how that works out. I can't possibly imagine that would have anything to do with it. Chapter 12. And in that day thou shalt say, O Lord, I will praise thee. Though thou wast angry with me, thine anger is turned away, and thou comfortedst me. Behold, God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid. For the Lord Jehovah is my strength and my song. He also is become my salvation. And in that day ye shall say, Praise the Lord. Call upon his name. Declare his doings among the people. Make mention that his name is exalted. Sing unto the Lord, for he hath done excellent things. This is known in all the earth. Cry and shout, thou inhabitant of Zion, for great is the Holy One of Israel in the midst of thee. And that short little nothing is the 12th chapter of Isaiah, wherein it's pointed out, to the immense surprise of everyone, that after being rescued from the clutches of foreign lands and being brought back to reign supreme over their ancestral home by a particular celestial force, people might be inclined to sing its praises. One of the biggest pointless points in all of literature. I mean, they even write down specifically what it's going to say, what it's going to sound like, what the people are going to say. Yes. Whoops, hang on. Where'd it go? Somebody asked, was it the same? Microraptor, yes. Same King James, who liked to hunt the witches. And then, hang on, I saw myself tagged somewhere else. Oh, Dr. Osiris, why did I shave my head? Because I'm going bald, like all the men in my family. Or the individuals blessed with the particular chromosomal makeup and genetics that I happen to inherit. We all lose it. We lose it early and we lose it bad. So the time had come, the walrus said. Okay. One of the many things, and thankfully this isn't a typeface issue, because those of y'all who are patrons have heard me bemoan the typeface issues in the Catholic Catechism for about the last 3 fucking months. If you're not, now you know how to hear me bemoan about the typeface issues in the Catholic Catechism. Join the fine folks whose names are on the crawler below. Gotta hustle. Y'all know how it is. Why are some of these chapters so fucking short? Some of these chapters are real damn long. Some of them are real fucking short. And there doesn't seem to be any rhyme nor reason. There are not consistent narrative breaks that point out where the end of a chapter should be. That's, as we've noticed once or twice, it's happened like literally in the middle of a thought. Sometimes, once if memory serves, the damn it, words. I love words. Words of my life. What was I saying? Oh, in the middle of a sentence. We had one chapter break in the middle of a sentence way back yonder somewhere. I don't remember where it was. It was fucking Leviticus or something. I'll never find it again. I'm not backtracking into the Pentateuch ever for any reason. So I mean, does it start? Because I didn't look ahead, but that didn't seem. Oh, okay. So that is the end of a thought. Never mind. 13 starts a completely different oracle from Isaiah, the son of Amoz. So the chapter break is there to set apart the song of praise and thanksgiving that will be sung after the people are retrieved from the ends of the earth and brought back to Jerusalem. Microraptor says God apparently didn't think it was necessary to invent editors before he told people to write the Bible, and Microraptor, as usual, is right. Amiga Nut says there were substitute teachers on the days the short verses were written. Well, that's entirely possible. It's just not well written, y'all. It's just not. There's weird paragraph breaks for no reason. The stories meander all over the place. It's nowhere remotely even close to in chronological storytelling order. And that's just talking about it mechanically as a book. fuck the content. I don't have time, and I don't have time to dive into why it's so horrendous as a moral guide. But it's well, y'all know what we call it up in here. Big book of war crimes, outdated regulations, utter I know my left from my right, I promise. Utter madness and abuse. The Christians don't like it when we point that out. Oh, yes. Paul, maybe on the, definitely let us know how that ends up going. Paul may be on Knox's channel to talk about Matt Powell's new movie. That ought to be a fun time. Trying to decide if I want to watch the fucking thing first or if I just want to go into these streams cold and watch people just explode with their brains all over the place like scanners. Okay. So what did we learn on the show tonight, Craig? There's going to be smiting. When the Assyrian, as well as Ephraim and Manasseh, descend upon Jerusalem, when this Assyrian finally fucking gets here, which Isaiah's been prophesying he's going to arrive at any point for chapters upon chapters upon chapters. Apparently he's just going to stand here and fucking filibuster at the king of Jerusalem until the Assyrian arrives and is knocking at the gate going, hey, conqueror here, let me in. I mean, I'm not, at least we got some smiting, right? It's future tense smiting. It's who's gonna get smote, but at least there's some smiting. We're out of the wisdom literature, so at least there's that. And we've got prophecies that are going to later be interpreted to mean Messiah instead of king, and then be hijacked by some rampaging new apocalypse cult known as Christians to be held to refer to their levitating carpenter zombie that they revere. So, something to look forward to once we crank over into the New Testament, assuming we survive the Old. Alrighty, I think that's going to do it for us. 12 was short, but 13 is long, and 14 doesn't look any shorter. So we're going to wrap here. Isn't Jesus sometimes referred to as the king of something? Jesus is often referred to as the king of all kinds of shit. The king of the world, the king of the universe, the king of peace, the king of mercy, the king of smiting. I don't fucking know. Oh, hey, Mama Atheist. You know, I was hoping I wasn't stepping on anybody's toes with this later time slot today. So we all need to run over to Math Pigs. He's hosting Speed of Sound in the Sty, which I had forgotten about. So thank you. All right, King of Salami. Yeah, might as well. King of Eggplants. Okay, we're starting to go down a weird. King of Tofu. All right, yeah, King of Tofu. Why not? All right. Well, thank y'all for coming and indulging me as I rip into messianic prophecy. Y'all were here when we finally got back to the smiting. It took us goddamn long enough. We'll be back tomorrow for at the regular time. 2 Central, 3 Eastern, and whatever time it is, wherever y'all are in the world. For Mental Health Thursdays, I've actually got a topic tomorrow. I'm not just going to be freestyling. Well, I mean, I am going to be freestyling, but I've got a specific something I want to talk about and consult y'all about. So hopefully we'll see you then. If we don't, if you're just here for the Bible bashing, then we do that again on Friday, and it'll be at the regular time as well, 3 Eastern. So, nope, Spooky, you ain't early. All right. As we always say before we roll out of here, everybody take care and be safe. Stand against hate. And we'll see you again soon.